Hello, this is John, host of MGTOW channel. I'm going to start with our mantra, I have the penis. Can't change that. So, I'm going to take a boss's position on this. I finally got a troll to bite. So I did a reverse double troll, double secret, super secret probation trick. And it happened on Men Are Destroyed by LGBTQ movement. And I'm going to do this one time. LGBTQ stands for the lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, whatever the fuck those people are. They're a bunch of social justice warriors, and they are doing some serious harm to our nation. Now, typically the MGTOW movement, which is men going their own way. Go your own way, whatever it is, right? If you're a man and you're masculine, go your own way. And if that's the queer way or the gay way, I don't give a fuck. What I do give a fuck about are the social engineers, the social justice warriors who are their minions, and what they're doing to this nation. So I did a video, The Men Are Destroyed by LGBTQ movement, because I wanted to talk about what's going on with our children, what's going on with men, and how they got to the place they're at where women are running everything, how it became a gynocentric world. So this video I did prompted a response, and I'm going to go over it with you. I was scrolling down and commenting as usual, or responding to comments, and I ran across this fella. His name is Franklin Karabajal, PhD. I looked him up on the internet, and he is not a published professor or doctor, because I couldn't find him. He's got his picture there, could be the real guy. And his one-line response to me was, I completely support my wife's gay son. I was intrigued at this guy's comment. Finally, it appears that somebody with a little bit of academic clout or some involvement in the LGBTQRST movement wanted to say something, or a feminist, but this guy came on this particular video. So my bait had been taken. This is how I responded to him. Then support him as a man. I have no problem with that. I know and have known plenty of gay, masculine men who refuse to be other than what they are. My discussion, meaning the video, was in regard to the emasculation, degradation, and praise of strong men who are being discriminated against and forced to behave unnaturally through aggressive psychological manipulation techniques. The problem is the coerced surrender of masculinity and its qualities, gay or straight. When I have to listen to my sons come home from school and tell me how the gay lifestyle is praised and they are shamed for being heterosexual, what should I think? I think that they are being socially punished for wanting to be men. My sons are being persuaded that in order to be accepted socially and accepted by women, that they need to act effeminate, and that being gay is the best indicator of that social castrated state. In other words, they are not being allowed by other children, teachers, or the educational indoctrination system to be who they wish. If my sons were homosexual, I would not love them any less or more. My objection is to the system created and influenced by feminism and other social engineering programs that teaches anti-masculinity and punishes traditional masculine heterosexual behavior through negative reinforcement techniques and stereotypes. I hear and read about, at least once a week, that both boys and girls don't know what their sexuality is because they don't know whether to follow their instincts or conform to social pressures. These poor kids are not allowed to be themselves without enormous external pressure to allow very, very corrosive and psychologically dangerous exposure to influence not only behavior but sexually or sexuality. Being homosexual had been argued to be how one is born and not a choice. Now, as if we are to forget what the mantra has been for decades, kids are told it's their choice with regard to being gay or not. They are now being influenced to choose or select a sexual attitude that is alternative and does not adhere to or emulate traditional masculine characteristics. I have not a real problem with homosexuals and alternative lifestyle people. What I have is tremendous objection to social manipulation, psychological battery, and trauma, and other nefarious agendas that are foisted upon American culture. Those elements are unnaturally shaping our nation's social structures. I hope my opinion via this response to your comment offered more detail regarding my position of homosexuals and the agenda of feminism and its little brother, the lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer movement. And then my last thing I sent to him is, would you mind telling me what your PhD is in? Now, he bit the hook and gave me that one-liner, and I gave him a very detailed response explaining my position on homosexuality. I don't give a fuck. Just keep your opinions in the closet as to whether or not I need to accept them, how I address them, the pronouns. I just don't give a fuck about that stuff. It's called freedom of speech and freedom of thought, freedom of my mind and freedom of individualism, strong, rugged, masculine individualism. So anyways, I responded to him with the question. So he responded to me. This is, again, Franklin Carabajal, PhD. Philosophy and comparative linguistics. That is what his PhD is in. I appreciate the time you took to type this comment, but have you ever considered that your discontent with the current world would be caused by clinging to outdated, obsolete, and disproven concepts? And then he used parentheses, such as heteronormativity and masculinity. He played his fucking hand with me. Not only did he bite the hook, but it got pulled tight in his little throat. I've got him now. He is a PhD in philosophy and comparative linguistics. Now, when I go to Walmart and I go to their philosophy section to talk to a philosopher, oh wait, philosophers either write books or work in academia. They typically don't have a 9-to-5 job at Walmart or Home Depot, right? They're philosophers, so they get paid to philosophize. This guy is an academic snob. He also deals with comparative linguistics. That means he is a social justice warrior and probably a social engineer. He probably has a lot to do with whatever college he's in, developing the language used in feminine studies and alternative lifestyle studies courses, i.e. social studies and social movements is his game. Comparative linguistics. When we talk about linguistics, we talk about speech, comprehension, understanding. And if he has a PhD in it, he understands very well that words have meaning. And since he is so fucking educated and so much higher and smarter than everyone else, I am going to take his second response as bullying, as intimidation, as discrimination, and as potentially hate against me. I want that well understood. Discrimination, hate, bullying, right? And probably sexual discrimination against me. And I'll read it again. But have you ever considered that your discontent with the current world could be caused by clinging to outdated, obsolete, and disproven concepts, such as heteronormativity and masculinity? Okay, nobody on their fucking right mind uses the word heteronormativity unless you're an educated college academic. I'm just going to be nice as I can. I don't think Franklin was being honest with me with his first question or his first comment, I believe he was looking to trick me, that he was looking to take advantage of me. He's not being honest, which means he's being disingenuous, which means he has an agenda, which means he's probably going to lie and then try and use his skills to bring doubt in my mind. That is a personal attack. That is an attack against my masculinity and my manhood, and I take it very seriously coming from an academic who is a PhD. So if anyone has any right to complain here, it is I, because he tried tricking me. He tried taking advantage of me, using his power over me. Okay, all the things that any fucking social justice warrior would complain about, this fucking clown is trying to do. Based on his education level. Which means the logical fallacies he is using are non sequitur. These fucking words mean nothing. He's also using appeal to authority. He's a PhD, so he must be right. Guess all of the logical fallacies this guy is using just in a couple sentences. And they don't even have to be stated. They can be implied based on who he is and the subject matter being discussed at hand, the position he's taking, and then going and studying what he is saying and what he is referring to, and all the logical fallacies and the arguments made by social justice warriors, feminists, and the lesbian, gay, bi, tranny, queer movement. This guy is full of shit. Okay, let's look at this again. Have you ever considered that you're discontent? Who says I'm discontented? I don't like feminism because what it's done to men and our culture. I don't have discontent as if it's personal. But that's what I'm taking his insult as, because it's an intellectually snobby question. By clinging to outdated, obsolete, and disproven concepts. Clinging. The word clinging implies by the tips of my fingers or the skin of my teeth. Clinging was a phrase or a word used in a phrase about Americans by Barack Obama during his campaign, where he said there are bitter Americans clinging to their guns and Bibles. It is a slight, it is a slander, or libel, if you will, when he wrote that. It is a backhanded insult, and I take it as such. I am not one of his little slobbering fools sitting in a class, lapping up his rhetoric and his ruminated crap as if I need it, and I don't need to kiss his ass to get a grade passed, so that I can go get a job as a social worker somewhere, some government job where I'm going to, presumably make just better than minimum wage with my beautiful social academic degree. Thank you. So he wrote that, and I'm going to read it again, then I'm going to go on to my final answer, my final response to him. Philosophy and comparative linguistics. Read social engineer. I appreciate the time you took to type this comment, but have you ever considered that your discontent with the current world could be caused by clinging to outdated, obsolete, and disproven concepts, such as heteronormativity and masculinity? Now, I took the time and the effort to respond to this guy because he bought into the trap. He took the bait. And so I want to run with it, take the time to show what he wrote, point out his fallacies, point out what an idiot he is, trying to come after an adult, a real man, a masculine man, who is both physically and mentally powerful. This I want to demonstrate and put him in his place the way I would put a bitch in her place. And I don't care if he likes it. He'll never fucking agree with me. But we need to stop being afraid and backing down and accepting the standard narrative that they give us on their reliance as authority figures. And they're the smartest people in the room. They are not. Here is my response. Doctor, I was hoping you were interested in engaging in a discussion. I'm going to start again and drink some water. No scotch yet. I was hoping you were interested in engaging in a discussion using common parlance. You chose instead to insult me with a backhanded, elitist language and technique. You have an agenda. It is transparent. So let me respond in kind. It is you who are discontented with the masculine social order. I'm certain you have considered the corrosive effects of social engineering and are well aware of the consequences. I am not discontented, nor am I clinging to an outdated concept. To be outdated would imply that masculinity has a finite or limited purpose. It does not. As for masculinity being obsolete, that argument I have found to be devoid of intellectual or historical foundation. When you say masculinity is disproven, your argument is exposed, for it is transparent and weak. You appear more to be a doctor of sophistry than of philosophy. Linguistics being your forte, I do not take kindly to parlor tricks designed to impress the naive disciples of academic tripe, it not being fit for disposal in the commode of the classic philosophers. I will not debate from the position of apologist, but instead respond in like fashion. Have you ever considered the social engineers and proponents such as yourself are creating fictional status and identity for creatures that are ignorant of the true agenda behind what they are indoctrinated with? In other words, do you or don't you care that you are damaging weak-minded individuals by inserting false reality and fostering it in an academic environment? Can a lion be anything other than a lion? If a lion could understand English and you were to convince it that it was a gazelle, would the lion benefit in any meaningful way, or would the lion be merely controlled by the programmer? Would the lion prosper, or would it die from behaving as a gazelle, which is contrary to the lion's true nature? The answer is obvious. If you choose to be something other than a masculine man, then I suggest you consider an identity I choose for you. Perhaps as a seal? Would you die of exposure or drown before digesting your first meal? Perhaps you could accept the identity of a porcupine. Would you die of starvation finding the bark of pine trees intolerable to chew, swallow, and digest? I'm certain you see my point of view. So my thinking, my identity is outdated, obsolete, and disproven? I think not. Masculinity has survived thousands and tens of thousands of years. It has created the civilization that is so prosperous that it provides you with the luxury of questioning the very power that has made your life possible. It, meaning masculinity, is not obsolete, nor outdated, because masculinity continues in its efforts to create the wealth you need to survive, despite the best efforts of social engineers, in academia and government, to destroy it. The efforts of social engineers has the practical effect of destroying the very culture that created it, does it not? Were it not for the culture I cling to, and that's your parlance, Doctor, would the LGBTQ have the freedom to exist at all? Where would your LGBTQ subculture be were it not for the intelligent, powerful, and sometimes savage masculinity creating and securing the world in which you live and think? Where would academia be were it not for masculine, traditional men performing the labor and producing the tremendous wealth required that allows you the luxury to consider the ideas that are so fantastic that they appear absolutely absurd to rational philosophers? Have you considered that by creating alternative genders, you reduce the number of masculine traditional men, which has the practical effect of reducing your culture's ability to defend itself in a world in which savagery still exists? If you doubt this, I refer you to the Third World invasion of Europe by intolerant and violent refugees, and that is current, ongoing, and pervasive. It is backed up by fact, details, statistics, everything. And it is both political in nature and evident by its social engineering masters. Okay, that's not in the thing. I just top of the head. Okay. If LGBTQ subculture is superior or even par in comparison to Western traditional male-female culture, then why are there no other cultures to be found internationally, as in the whole planet, that have embedded in their beginning or fundamental philosophy the concepts of LGBTQ subculture? If LGBTQ subculture is allowed to proliferate and subjugate traditional masculine Western male behavior, who will defend the effeminates, the pussies, against an aggressive, intolerant, and invasive culture? The Muslim Wahhabis, for example. LGBTQ prepares itself, in common parlance, for domination by a culture that will brutally conquer it, making LGBTQ its bitch. That is, you're a bunch of effeminates, and when the Muslims get a hold of you, you will be their bitches. And I don't think they like gays very much, so get ready for the sword. All right, moving on. My perspective and conclusions regarding superior masculine culture are based on legitimate and time-tested philosophy that have improved and stimulated human cultural and intellectual development. The fruits of Western philosophy have among its merits the creation of the culture, our culture. From Western culture, the LGBTQ subculture came forth. The LGBTQ's birth alone does not signify its superiority, nor does it by its mere existence become a legitimate heir to Western culture. The LGBTQ has the philosophical appearance of a diseased and retarded child. Indeed, the LGBTQ subculture is an experiment with malignant and cancerous results so far. Its adherents, its acolytes, its students, its body appears socially as misfits who are triggered by any opposition to its stated beliefs or practices, silences opposition using Marxist guerrilla tactics, and claims mental instability for its adherents who require safe spaces on campuses. The LGBTQ subculture is a tiny fraction of the Western social system. Despite no merits at all, it demands full attention and respect, while offering nothing to the nations in which it resides except to sound like a toddler demanding its wishes be capitulated to, or it will hold its breath until it gets its way. It is a spoiled bastard child of Western culture, and deserves to be shown the door and expelled from the realm of intellectual and political discussion. It is an embarrassment to the intelligent mind. I will conclude by stating that I will retain my masculinity and oppose any claim of philosophical or social legitimacy of the LGBTQ subculture. I will neither recognize nor accept as legitimate its subversive Marxist origin and agenda. The LGBTQ agenda is to subvert and destroy our culture and substitute through sophistry its language, mandates, and untested results and consequences. I choose a proven, consistent, successful, and operable social system with masculine men serving as both the physical and intellectual leaders of our culture. For those who are gay, I invite them to live moral and intelligent lives as free and intellectual men and women among the rest of the intelligent world, and be accepted as equals, but never superior. I condemn any who think they have special, fictional human rights unique to LGBTQ claimants. It is a farcical and dangerous dogma that is preached from the halls of academia. It will find its doom, and the acolytes you have indoctrinated will have no legacy or legitimacy, except it be a footnote on the dusty and neglected pages of history. I know you will not reassess your views, and I thank you for the mental exercise. I will allow you to cling with false hope to a vision of masculine men fatally destroyed and simultaneously usurped by moral and intellectual bilge. I wish you well, and good night. That is the end. He has not responded. He has not removed his own comments. So I imagine Herr Doctor is going to probably keep it in place if he can for his students. I spent a great deal of time typing that out, as you can imagine. And it was worth it, because it allowed me the platform from which to write this information down. You could have just as easily substituted the word femininity for the LGBTQ, because they are bastard siblings of philosophy. They are groups that are socially retarded, but they have power, because hundreds of thousands and millions of these people in America alone are being trained in colleges, in the halls of academia, to believe the dogma, the morals, everything that femininity is, or the feminist movement, everything that the radical left gay movement pushes, is finding its way out of academia and down into the high school, where my sons are dealing with it. And then it's also finding its way into government. I've talked about how in Canada, England, and Australia, they're having problems with this. In Canada especially, they're trying to get passed, or have passed, legislation which requires people to address with the proper pronoun people who are part of the LGBTQ lifestyle. If you do not accept them and call them by the proper pronoun, that can be considered in Canada, believe it or not, a violation of that person's human rights, because you aren't meeting their needs. Now it becomes the people of Canada's problem, their duty, to meet the needs of the LGBTQ community via language. The world in the West is going to hell in a fucking handbasket. They want to emasculate everyone and take away free speech. Jordan Peterson, who is a philosopher in Canada, I think at the University of Toronto, is battling them up front, and he is having to listen to the stupidest arguments. I recommend looking up Jordan Peterson. I'll try and put some links in the video to his work and some of the stuff he has to face. In America, you can suck it, you bunch of faggots. You are intellectual queers. Okay, there's something wrong with you. And I'm not talking about gays in general. I'm talking about those who are part of the radical left-wing movement. Queer means odd, right? Faggot means burning log. You guys are faggots. You are burning yourselves up because you are behaving in an unnatural way. You are triggered at the mere sight of a white man like myself, who you would scream patriarchy at and white privilege if you had a chance. You sound like children because mentally you are children. You are spoiled. You don't have the wealth to pay for your education. You've either gotten loans for it, which means everyone else has subsidized until you get a job, which is highly unlikely, and pay it back, or you're using your parents' money to disillusion yourself and act in a way that is not natural. Because once again, I'll ask, if your way is the right way and it is so superior, why are there not any cultures that have your philosophies at its heart, in its foundations? It's because it is not a true philosophy. It cannot sustain itself. So if it ever did rear its head in history, it would have died very quickly. Or, like a cancer, it would kill that culture upon which it attached itself. This is John, host of MGTOW is Freedom. I have the penis. And if you are a man going your own way, you can make the same proclamation. You have a penis, go your own way. We're engaged in a social battle. It's an intellectual battle with non-intellectuals. They are hypocritical. Hypocrisy flows through their mind. Like crybaby feminists, the gays offer the same defenses, the same offenses, and that is they want special rules for themselves and the right to tell everyone else to be silent and accept what they have to offer as truth. And the mere resistance to the very idea or act of talking to them and then arguing with them creates in their mind the very act that they complain about. So if I talk as a white heterosexual male, I am engaging in transphobia if I talk about trans or queers or gays or bis or lesbians. The whole thing is ridiculous. I cannot talk about it. I can't think about it. I must obey. That is the position they want to do, and they are using Marxist guerrilla tactics to do it. I think I laid it all out. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Do not be afraid of these freaks. They are intellectual freaks in an intellectual and academic freak circus. They are a sideshow of social humanity. They are fools and knaves, and they don't deserve real critical attention. But this PhD, this doctor, this professor of philosophy and linguistics, he does deserve my attention, and I will give it to him this one time. Because I know what he's doing, and he knows what he's doing as well. And it is people like him and their conscience, when this fails and falls on its face, that are going to be held accountable and responsible. And the people that are adherents, their acolytes, are also going to be held accountable themselves. And they'll have no one to blame but themselves. Because they are sheep going out amongst wolves and telling the wolves that they are sheep. And the wolves are going to eat them up. There's a reason that masculinity has dominated this world. Because it inspires the intellect and empowers the physical. This is John, host of MGTOW is Freedom. I have the penis. Take care.